ADHD versus screen time. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. In this video, we are going to break it down. Now, I don't know that it's going to be a particularly long one, but it is a good one. So get yourself a cup of coffee, settle in, and listen, because this is a video that everybody needs to know. Okay, so, well, first let me ditch my coffee. First, let's discuss what ADHD truly is. Then we're going to move into, that's number one. Number two, then we're going to move into what screen brain is. What does screen time do to your brain? This you need to know, and you need to be able to differentiate it from true organic ADHD. And then of course, lastly, number three is your brain tip strategy for the day so that you can improve your ADHD if you have it, so that you can improve screen brain, which likely most people who are watching this video are being impacted by. Okay, let's dig in. Number one, ADHD. What is it? ADHD is classified as a neurodevelopmental disorder. Now, I had this discussion with my dear son, Declan, the other day. And he's like, yeah, it means that you can develop it across your life. No, that's not what it means. He was trying to convince me that he has ADHD, but actually he has screen brain, which I will tell you about in a few minutes, because he's been gaming too much, and we are nipping that one in the bud. But he is feeling the impact of it. So he's like, hey, Ma, as he calls me, I have ADHD. I'm like, dude, I've seen your brain for over years, hundreds of times. You do not have ADHD. So first, let me tell you what I mean by that is that when I use EEG, electroencephalogram, I can see how a person's brain is performing. So I can see if it is in fact using the ADHD brain pattern. That brain pattern is one of excessive theta, too much slow speed, a brain that's trying to fall asleep during the day, and sometimes not enough beta, that perfect focus speed in the middle. So if you're born with a brain that is using too much theta and perhaps not enough beta, it's called the theta to beta ratio. When this ratio is off, when you are born with it or when you're very young, what I mean by off is there's too much theta. When that is happening, that is true organic ADHD. It means that your brain developed that way when you were born. You're born with ADHD. So ADHD is a neurodevelopmental disorder, one of too much theta slow speed. Hopefully you're with me. Okay, so that's the organic ADHD pattern. Over your childhood, theta should decrease. That's what happens developmentally. And if theta decreases enough, you may grow out of ADHD symptoms because theta has come down. That's how brain training helps, which I will get to in our brain tip strategy because it brings the theta down. But that can improve over your childhood if you're doing all the right stuff and using neuroplasticity. But you are born with ADHD. Now let's go to number two, and I will come back to ADHD in a minute. Number two is screen brain. Let's differentiate it first and foremost, and then we can break it down a bit. Screen brain is a very similar brain pattern, meaning that your brain begins to use too much theta in the day. So what happens is, if you're in front of a screen too much, your brain will ramp up its energy and then it will decrease. It will get wired and then tired. So theta comes along with fatigue. Fatigue and tiredness is an increase in theta. So when you're in front of a screen, it resonates at 60 hertz in the United States. In Europe, it resonates at 50 hertz. Both of them are very fast brain speeds. So if you remember from other of my videos, perfect optimal brain processing speed is in the middle, around 10 to 15 hertz. Alpha and low beta, that's when you feel calm and you feel focused. So if your brain is feeling tired after being wired from the screen, if there's fatigue, that is theta, which is around 5 hertz. It's slow, it's a brain that's dragging, which makes it difficult to attend, to focus. It increases impulsiveness. It makes it so that you have difficulty multitasking. It makes it so that sleep might be an issue. It gives you ADHD symptoms. So let's break down what ADHD symptoms and screen brain symptoms are. But I want you to know, one is something you're born with, one that is something that is happening to your brain as a result of consuming too much screen time. And I'm going to read you a list from the Mayo Clinic, which I basically have already said, but I wanted to make sure that I remembered to tell you that if you are looking for information about health issues, the Mayo Clinic is a really great resource for just about anything. If you're concerned about something, you can look it up on the Mayo Clinic, and Harvard also puts out blog posts where they have great information. So I'm going to include two things from the Mayo Clinic and from Harvard, resources that are founded in science, but they do a good job at presenting it from multiple angles, not just from one allopathic angle. Okay, so let me read the list. Impulsiveness, disorganization and problems prioritizing, poor time management skills, problems focusing on a task, difficulty multitasking, excessive activity or restlessness, poor planning, and a low frustration for tolerance. So this low frustration to tolerance, so, difficulty tolerating frustrating activities or becoming frustrated more easily. So you can see that this is the list of ADHD symptoms, but you can see this is also behaviors that come out of too much screen time. So back to Declan. Last night, Declan made the choice because he is 18. He's a man-child, or my child who is now a man, who I'm still guiding, hopefully in the right direction. But Dec made the choice to sit next to Connor, my other son, and Connor was working, but Declan was playing video games all day. And I made dinner. I'm going to tell you some of my brain neutral and brain recovery activities that I did. So I was hanging out making dinner next to him, not understanding he had been there all day. And literally his eyes basically crossed. He looked at me like he was shooting daggers out of said eyes when I told him that dinner was ready, which normally he thanks me and gives me a hug and says, "Thanks, Mama." This time, daggers out of the eyes, and he walks away and slams the door, which is totally out of character for him. Normally he's, up and he'd be like, "Thanks, Mama, this looks delicious," yada, yada, yada. So he came back a few minutes later when he proclaimed that he thinks he melted his brain from too many video games, which in fact he did, but he had a low tolerance to frustration, which was just me telling him that dinner is ready. You could see he wanted to kill everybody in the room, and we do have a full life and a full home, but he was able to recover pretty quickly. I think he went and took a quick power nap, brought that theta down because theta increases with fatigue, and he came back out more like himself. So screen brain is something that if you stay out of the screen and if you give your brain healthy stimulation, you will be able to recover from. So if your ADHD symptoms really ebb and flow and you notice that they're worse after you're in the screen for a while, and they're better if you have spent the day at the park playing volleyball, which is a regular thing Declan does. He does a lot of outside activities. He's an Eagle Scout, actually. Very proud of him. So he usually is very good at balancing his brain, but he thinks he has ADHD symptoms because he's been in front of his screen too much, and he is feeling it in his ability to get his schoolwork done, in his ability to feel good and to be in a good mood and to perform at his best. If you struggle with that, beginning from when you were a child, all through your childhood and through adolescence into adulthood, then you may have organic ADHD, which is typically diagnosed in childhood, but diagnoses can be missed, and it will show up on EEG as the theta to beta ratio, and it will not ebb and flow. And so you may, but likely that you've struggled with learning challenges, that you've needed extra stimulation, your sleep's been difficult for your whole life. If you are beginning to struggle with the symptoms that I mentioned, it might just be screen brain. So one more caveat is that if you have true ADHD that's organic and you are in front of the screen a lot, it will give you worse ADHD symptoms. So if you really have ADHD, it's more important that you balance your screen time so you don't have ADHD plus screen brain, which will be worse for you if you have ADHD. it's extra important to balance screen time using the methods I'm going to share with you in the brain tip strategy today. So ADHD is organic. You are born with it. It's too much theta. Screen brain means that if you stay out of the screen, you actually could use the optimal brain performance pattern of alpha and low beta. When you're trying to focus, you can bring that theta down. So Harvard has a blog post that talks about the screen's impact on brain performance. And in that article, it says that the screen gives your brain impoverished stimulation. And I love that because it means it's stimulating your brain. It is jacking it up, but it's impoverished stimulation. It's not the good stimulation that you would get from the world. So the key is clearly to give your brain the healthy stimulation from the world. And it involves one thing I love to call boredom. So brain tip strategy is number one, get bored. And stick with it, stay with it. Boredom is that beautiful space that allows creativity to flourish. No boredom, no creativity. If your brain is always in go, go, go mode, it can't slow down enough to be able to be creative. That's why if you take a walk or when you take a shower, you'll have your best thoughts because you're letting your brain recover, bring that theta down. What I didn't mention is that most times when theta is high, anxiety is high also. It's a comorbid pattern. They exist together, which means there's too much high beta in the first place that's being jacked up, being stimulated. So give yourself and your brain some space to feel bored so you can get creative and use your imagination. It's a beautiful thing. So here's the skill. Coming out of the screen for double, yep, I said double, 2 times the amount that you're in the screen. And this is tricky because we use screens for work, we use screens for play and for pleasure. Be aware and really create some downtime across your day. And when you create the downtime, give yourself healthy stimulation and recovery time. What's healthy stimulation? Something that's fun and it makes your brain think and focus and do. Recovery is just being, just sitting around being bored. I'm going to give you an example from yesterday. So, I work a lot, usually in the morning. I'll take breaks. But then in the afternoon, actually yesterday I went outside and I played basketball. I just go play by myself. My dog will come out sometimes, Chewbacca. I beat him. Want me to tell you why? No opposable thumbs. He's a great defense, but that man has no opposable thumbs, so it's a lot of fun because he actually will play D, but he can't win. No thumbs. So I will play basketball with him, but that requires no thought. That's recovery time because I'm not actually trying moves. I will play 1v1 with Seamus where I'm trying. That is more of a focus activity, and I'm actually getting pretty good. Then I will do boxing. Sometimes I just hit the general, my boxing bag. Other times I practice moves. When I'm practicing moves, that requires focus. When I'm just hitting around, that's recovery. If I'm using my brain to focus and think, healthy stimulation. If I'm just messing around, recovery. So think about how you use your brain. Then I made dinner. I made 1 pot lemon pepper chicken. Very good. You can look that recipe up. Super easy, very chill. Everyone's around me. I'm just chilling. I got the music playing. Imagine Dragons. I've been into them lately. Yes, I think they're great. I don't care if I've been ripped on by the teenagers for the Imagine Dragons. I still think they're great. So then as I'm making dinner, I'm chilling. It doesn't require a lot of thought because it was easy. I made the fam squad some brownies. Everybody was digging it. We're just chilling out. That's totally recovery time. Then I love to read. I'm currently reading Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani about her near-death experience, which I also had a near-death experience, and someone recommended that I read the book, and it's very cool, like it a lot. Thinking, just the perfect amount of thinking, but not overthinking. And then I hung out with the fam. We watched Ted Lasso, which is a really great show. If you haven't seen it, it's on Apple TV if you have it. Very chill, very good show. Super great messages all the time. So that's kind of what stimulation and recovery look like for me. So create that in your own life. double the amount of time out of the screen than in, and it will serve you. It will improve your ADHD in the first place if you stay out of the screen, and it will alleviate screen brain and prevent it from happening to you so you don't feel all wired and tired, all ramped up and then crashed. It will save all of that for you. You'll be able to think better, you'll be able to focus, you will be able to do what you need to do. Okay, I hope that helps you out, and if you're looking for help on this journey, please reach out to me at drtrishleigh.com. And as always, control your brain or it'll control you.